Hi everyone, this is Fahim Niaz. I'm the product manager for Anime Studio. We're delighted to have you here today. Today's webinar will be on character rigging using smartphones in Anime Studio Pro 9, and it's being presented by Victor Paradis. We're delighted to have him here. We're very excited to see what he's come up with Anime Studio 9 Pro's smartphone features. And if you'd like more information on Anime Studio, please check out animate.smithmicro.com. So before we begin this webinar, there are a few housekeeping items I'd like to review with everybody. First of all, everyone will be muted except for the panelists, myself, Victor, and Michi Catanese. As well, we would like you to ask questions, as many as you'd like, and please do so in the questions window of your GoToMeeting screen. So please feel free to do that and ask as many questions as you'd like. We'll get to all the questions at the very end of the webinar. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce Victor Paradis. He is an award-winning animator from Santiago, Chile. He has worked on multiple projects, short films, documentaries, and commercials using Anime Studio. And he's worked for Chevrolet, Nextel, the Chilean government, Nestle, for us as well, Smith Micro, and many other major companies. He's also a member of the Anime Studio beta test team, so he's provided us with a lot of insight on how we should make modifications to the program and to improve everyone's workflow. And over and above that, he's also been a Lost Marble moderator for many years. And he's been an avid Anime Studio user since 2006. With that being said, I'd like to pass the reins of the presentation over to Victor so that he can begin his presentation and you guys can enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Thank you very much for coming today to this webinar. I really like to make this webinar about smartphones because I think it is one of the major features Anime Studio have since version 6, 7, I don't know. And actually, I rigged the J character you can see in the Anime Studio Pro startup, and I start rigging it on Anime Studio 8. So if you watch my previous webinar, you see I used the Mancon rig, which is a great rig, to make the legs and the arms and many other little details and joints. But I wasn't too comfortable with this rig because it presented problems. For example, here with the leg, the legs didn't work exactly as I would want, or here the elbow, and I have I don't know if you are hear me. A message appeared here. Hi. Oops. Well, I'm gonna continue.
Victor, we can hear you.
Well, okay. Sorry, it's the webinar software show me some terrible messages. I was scared. And for example, here, this part of the body, I didn't like how it worked. The lines didn't work too well, and it was the most I could get with version 8. But when version 9 came with the new smartphone feature, I could construct a rig with less bones and much more powerful. So for example, the leg, bends much better here than the previous version of this rig, and also you can see how the pants react to the bending, to the leg bending, and this part you can see this structure is working much more natural than in the previous rig. So I want to start with a rig of this woman. I used the rig of my previous webinar. So you have here a tailbone and some bones for the arms, the legs, etc. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is to set up this arm. We go to the right arm vector layer here, and we're gonna bend the point using the bend point tool to this bone. So I press Alt on the keyboard and click on the bone. The bone now is red, and select the points and bend. The same with the other bone. Alt and click, select the points and bend. And also I'm gonna bend the hand, which is a switch layer which contains close, open, and point. Okay, so I select the switch layer, layer bend, and click on the bone. The bone is red, that means the hand is bent to the bone. Okay, so the problem with this rig is that it is not bending very well. You can see the shape is very ugly here and here. So in version 9 we have smart bones. Okay, the first thing to do with smart bones is to use them to solve these joint problems. So first we select the bone we want to rotate, this one in this case, and we check the name the bone has. So in this case the bone is named B10. So now, knowing the name, we go to the window menu and open actions. Okay, we have the action windows here, and now we create a new action called with the same name than the bone, so B10. Okay, so press OK. Now we are inside the action B10, and we take the rotation bone tool and rotate the bone to some extreme movement, for example here. And now we go to the right arm vector layer. I'm going to press enter to deselect the points, and we adjust manually the points to get the shape we want. And also we can adjust the curvature. Okay, and in this case the character have no stroke, but we also could adjust the width of the line using smart bones. So we adjust to the shape we want, and now go back to the bone layer of the woman and double click in mainline here. And now if we try our arm, you can see it is working much better than the previous version. Okay, but if we rotate it to the other side, we're still having problems, right? So to solve that, we create a new action with the same name of the bone, so B10, but this time we add space and 2. This is the second action for the bone B10. So we press OK, and now with the rotation bone tool, we rotate the bone to the other side, go to the right arm vector layer, and adjust the points to get the shape we want. We change the curvature Okay, so once you get the shape, go back to the woman bone layer and double click on the main line. So now we have our arm working up and down. Okay, but now if you see, it is working better, but in the extremes it is working well, but in the middle of the movement we get this weird shape, right? So in between we are not getting a much soft shape. So to solve this, what we're gonna do is open again the action B10 space 2, so the second action of the arm rotating, and we're gonna move the keyframe until, for example, frame 12. So now we have all these in-betweens to solve the problem. Okay, so if we make this with this bone, we also have to do with the other bone, with the points. So we go to the right arm and select the keyframes of the arm and move to 12. Okay, so now here, for example, in frame 7, in the middle, I move the point to the position I want. So now it is working much better. Okay, so now we have a multiple frames smart bone action. So now we go back to woman and double click on the main line, and if we try, now it is working well in the middle and in the extremes of the movement. But there is a little problem. I don't know if you will see this, but if I move my bone very slowly, the shape here is jumping from one position to another. There is no in-betweens for the movement. Okay, I hope you will see this. This is because smart bones works with the in-betweens we assign it to them. So for example, if I go back to B10 space 2 to this action, we have only 12 frames to that movement. So the software has only 12 frames to get the movement. So if the movement is slower than 12, it will jump from one position to another. So to solve this, we have to move the keyframe inside the smart bone. Instead of 12, for example, move this to the second 5. So now it have the smart bone have all these in-betweens to combine and create the movement. So if we move the bone keyframe, right, we also have to move the vector layer keyframes. So we have these keyframes here, and to make it easier, we can select all the keys, press Alt in the keyboard, and keeping pressed Alt, and drag the last keyframe. So now we are scaling the movement. So we have exactly the same movement with exactly the same number of keyframes, but with a lot of frames in between. So now if we go back to the bone layer of woman and double click in the main line, we can see it is working and it is not jumping anymore. Okay, so we have two kinds of smart bones. Simple with only one frame, like B10, it has only one frame, or multiple frame smart bones, like B1210. Okay. So now we have our arm already rigged, but if we move this other bone, for example, up, we can see the shape of the arm is looking very bad here, and also to the other side. So we can add a new smart bone, this time for B9. So we select the bone, check the name, it is named B9. So we create a new action called B9, and we're gonna create a multiple frames action, and now rotate B9 up, and what we want to do is go to the right arm again and adjust the points to get a better shape. Okay, so we have this, but also we can go to the body vector layer, this one, and we can adjust the body. So now if the arm moves, it also moves the body. So we get this. You see the movement is much softer, so we can adjust the in-betweens to get exactly what we want. Okay, so now we are ready. Go back to the woman bone layer, double click on mainline, and now when I rotate this bone, you can see the body is reacting to that movement, so it looks much softer than before. You see, you can compare these two. So we can make the same to the other side. So to make the rotation to the other side, we create B9 space 2, press OK, and now rotate the bone to the other side. I am on the second 5, so I have this. And now go to the right arm and adjust the points to get the shape I want, for example here. Okay, and now I can adjust the in-betweens. For example here. And again I can go to the body, so I can move the body to adapt to that new movement. Okay, so we have to make this only one time. For example here I'm gonna adapt the body. Okay, and now go back to the woman bone layer, double click to the main line, and if we test, it is working up and down. Okay, now it is the most basic kind of joint, but for example, as I show you in the J character, this part of the body is always very difficult to do at last for me. For example, if we rotate the leg, you can see we have this strange shape here. If we rotate to the other side, we get this curve. Okay, so this is very ugly, right? So to solve this, we select the bone, we check the name, it is called B12, so we create a new action called B12, and on this action, this will be a multiple frame action. We're going to rotate the leg up to the extreme of the movement, for example here, and now go to the body bone layer and adjust the point to get the shape I want. For example, I can adjust this point to for example here, and now I can adjust the in-betweens, so you can see it is moving much better now. So I go back to woman bone layer, double click on the main line, and you can see it is moving much better. Okay, so we can make the same to the other side. So we create a second action called B12 space 2, go to the second 5, rotate to the other side the bone, and now go to the body and adjust the points. Okay, so we can also modify the curvature, for example here, and we can solve the in-betweens. And now I am ready, so I go back to the woman, double click in the main line, and now if I test it, it is working to both sides. You see? So we can make these smart bones with all the parts or any part of the body, but I want to show you another use that it hasn't to do so much with joints like these bones, but with 3D simulation. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do with this rig is to add a new bone. So I go to the add bone tool. I am on frame 0, and I'm gonna create a bone that will be child of this bone. So I press Alt and keep pressed Alt on the keyboard, click on this bone, now it's red. I release Alt and now create a new little bone here. Okay, and this bone will have no strength, so I go to the strength tool and drag to the left to set the strength to 0, and now I want to make the foot bone be child of this one. So I go to the reparent bone tool, press Alt on the keyboard, click the foot bone, and now release Alt and press the little bone. So now I have the foot moving, and I also can move the foot with this little bone. Okay, so I'm gonna explain why we did this, but first I want to work over the foot. So now we're gonna create a new a smart bone action for this bone, but we want to rename this bone. I have the select bone tool, so I select this bone and I'm gonna name it foot left and press enter. So now this bone is called foot left. Alright, so now I'm gonna create a new action called foot L, the same name than the bone, and press OK. And now inside this action I am on second 5. I'm gonna rotate this bone to the right, and now instead of solving the joint, we're gonna select the vector layer of the body and we're gonna simulate a 3D rotation of the foot. So for example here. Okay, so we can adjust also the in-betweens, for example here. So now when I rotate this bone, we're gonna simulate a 3D rotation. So I go back to woman, go back to the main line, and when I rotate this bone, the foot is rotating in 3D. So now I'm going to create a new action with the same name, foot L, but now space 2, and I'm going to make the same but to the other side. Okay, so I go to the body, adjust the points until I get the 3D sensation, for example, here. Okay, and now I adjust the in-betweens. Okay, you can make it more you can make it better at home, but here is the 3D rotation, right? So I go back to the woman, go back to the main line, and now I have this rig. So if I want to rotate the foot in 3D, I rotate this bone. But if I want to rotate the foot in 2D, I rotate this bone. You see? So that is the reason why we have two bones here. One for the 3D and one for the 2D. Okay, I have this woman already rigged with all the parts, so you can see the arms working, right? You can see the legs turning to both sides. Okay, and the 3D rotation. Okay, now I'm going back to our construction. If you see, as I showed in the previous webinar, I have a bone layer inside of the bone layer of the woman. I have this head bone layer. If I open it, it has several layers. It has the top of the hair, the mouth. You can see this vector layer. It have a bone layer for the eyes. We're gonna work on the eyes too, and a vector layer for the head. Okay, so we're gonna start working with smart bones as control levers. Okay, because smart bones not only work with joints, you also can use them to control the mouth. So for example, we want to create a new bone now inside of the head bone layer. So I'm going to create in the frame 0 a new bone here, right? And this bone will have no strength. Okay. And also this bone will have angle constraints. So to set angle constraint, I select the bone and go here to bone constraint windows, check angle constraints, and this is gonna have 90 angles for constraints. So if I test this bone, it can rotate to right or left. Okay, so we're gonna call this bone, so I select it, and here I'm gonna call it open close and press enter. So now this bone is named open close, and we want to create a new action called open close, the same name as the bone, and we want to rotate the bone to the right. Okay, so we have the key here, and now go to the mouth vector layer, and we want to move the points of the vector layer to close the mouth. Okay, so we're gonna close the mouth. Okay, let's suppose here. So now I go back to the head bone layer, double click on the main line here, and I have this control bone to close the mouth. Okay, so now we want to create a new action called open close space 2. We rotate this bone to the other side and now go to the mouth, and we're gonna open the mouth. So with the select point tool, I'm gonna select all these points and move them down. For example here, now just a little, we're gonna select this other and moving up, for example here. So we have an open mouth. So go back to the head, double click on the main line, and we have this bone to close and open. Okay, but now if you see, when we open the mouth, it is only moving the mouth but not the rest of the head. So we're gonna go to the open close action here again, double click, and when the character open the mouth, we also gonna move the head. So we go to the head vector layer and we're gonna move this point a little down. Okay, so we go back to the head, go back to the main line, and now when the character open the mouth, you can see the face is also moving, so the result is much natural. Okay, so we have the bone open close. We're gonna create a new bone to the other side, and so go to the add bone tool. I don't want to have any parent for this new bone, so I press Alt and click in the nothing. Okay, so I create this new bone now, which is child of nothing. Reduce the strength, set some angle limitation. Okay, so we have the same, and this bone gonna be named squash stretch. Okay, so we again create a new action called squash stretch. Okay, and now when we rotate, we are inside the action, we rotate the bone to the right, we go to the mouth, select it, all the points, and we want to scale them with the scale points tool, but we're gonna scale with Alt pressed on the keyboard and taking this box here, so it's gonna squash. Okay, we want to squash it a lot, it's very extreme. Okay, so we go back to the head, double click on the main line, so we can test now our character, so you can squash it. Okay, so we create a new action now called squash stretch space 2, and we're gonna rotate the bone to the other side, go to the mouth, select the scale points tool, and now scale it to the other side. Okay, we can adjust this point, for example the curvature here. Okay, so now we go back to the head bone layer, double click on the main line, and now we have squash and stretch for the mouth, and we can combine the squash and stretch with the close and the open. Okay, so we can get different kinds of mouth, different expressions, only using 2 bones. Okay, for my rigs I like to add a last bone, so I'm gonna create a new bone, child of no one, here with no strength. We're gonna add some limitations, but this time we're gonna add a limitation from 0 to 90. Okay, because this bone gonna rotate to one side only. Okay, and this bone gonna be named OO, a big and a little O. So I press enter and now create an action, OO. Enter, and when I rotate this bone, I'm gonna make the mouth make an O. So I'm gonna move the points to make the character say an O. So for example, here here, okay, this can be better, but for this webinar here I think it is okay. So we have an O, right? So we go back to the head, double click on the main line, and now we have open. We can combine with the O, with the squash and stretch. Okay, open or close, and we have many expressions. So only animating these 3 little bones, we can have a bunch of different poses for the head, for the mouth. Okay, so now you see the eyes are inside another bone layer. Okay, this construction is very similar to the one I did for the other webinar, character rigging webinar. Okay, so we have the eyes inside a bone layer, and we have the pupils, and you can see if I move the pupils, you can see they are being masked by the eyes, right? So to make work the eyes, we can add some bones directly in the bone layer of the eyes. So for example, we can add a bone here with no strength, with angle limitations, right? And we want to name this bone blink. Okay, press enter, and now we're going to create the action blink. So if we rotate to the right, okay, we're going to go to the eyes vector layer, and we're going to adjust this point here to make it blink. So we're going to move all the points. Okay, this could be a multiple frame action, but in this case we want to use only one action. So I move the points, now move these vectors. Okay, oops, here. Okay, so I have the blink. So go back to the eyes bone layer, double click in the main line, and now when I rotate this bone, the character blinks. Okay, and we can create a second action called blink space 2, and we can rotate the bone to the other side, go to the eyes, and we can make the eyes go bigger. Okay, so for example here, and the other eye too, and here. So this, the woman is impressed. So go back to the eyes, double click in the main line, so we have blink and impress in the same bone. Okay. So we could add more bones for eyes, but now I want to create a couple bones to move the pupils. So we want to create a new bone with no parent, so a bone here, and this bone will be called right left. Okay, and press enter. So now I'm gonna create a new action called, oh sorry, before I'm gonna give it some angle limitations, and now I'm gonna create the action right left, exactly the same name as the bone. So when I move this bone to the right, I go to the pupils, select the points of the pupils, and move them to the right. For example, here it is a very extreme movement. Now go back to the eyes, go back to the main line, create a new action called right left space 2, rotate to the left, and select the pupils and move the points to the left. For example, here. Okay, so we go back to the main line, go back to the eyes, and you can see we can move right to left only using a bone, and we can close the eyes. So now we want to create a last bone for up and down. So we go to the add bone tool, press alt and click on nowhere to make it a child of no one, and I'm going to create this bone but now pointing to the left. This is because I want to rotate the bone up and down. In this case the bone is still having strength, so I'm going to reduce the strength to 0. Okay, so I have this bone. I'm going to set some angle constraint, and this bone will be named up and down. Okay, so I call it up and down, and now create a new action, up and down. So when I rotate this bone up, go to the pupils, select the points and move them up. Okay, now go back to the eyes, go back to the main line, create a new action called up and down space 2, and rotate the bone down, go again to the pupils and move the pupils down. Okay, so now if we go back to the main line, we have blink, right to left, up and down. Okay, so we have the control of the points inside the bones. We could add another bone to control the eyebrows or anything you would want. Okay. Now I want to show you another character, this monkey. I have this character, and I like to show this because this rig, it is very similar to the woman rig, but you can see it has these little bones here. So I have this bone to blink, this bone to move the eyes up and down, right or left. With these bones I move the mouth. With this bone I set it happy or sad, and with this I make a squash stretch. So for example, I could make the character open the mouth happy or sad, or making an O, for example, etc. And I have this other bone which can rotate or simulate a 3D rotation for the character. Okay, and it is all masked. That is because you see that it gives the 3D sensation. Now I especially liked this little bone that if you see it is working with the smart bones, it's working well, but when I rotate this bone down, you see here a line appear. You see if I move it very slowly, you can see the line appearing. Okay, so this is very cool because it gives the sensation of the arm being part of the body. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to make this. If I go to the action of this bone, B23 space 2, you can see the bone is rotating. Okay, but if I go to the body vector layer, you can see some keyframes here, and here there are 2 points. I'm gonna move them to show you. Okay, 2 points. So what I do is to close this point each other to simulate they are part of the same line. Okay, so when the arm rotates down, this point closes to the other, and it gives the sensation of something much more natural. Okay, so it works very well for the arm, and also if you see this leg, the same thing happens here. You see this point is moving up. Okay, so there are many variations on rigging with smart bones, and I want to show you the last thing. Maybe you already see this boss, this skull boss. You can see this is a very simple rig. It is only one vector layer with all the points and a bone layer with these bones. Okay, so I have these bones working to make a squash stretch to the wheels. I have up and down. I have a squash and a stretch. I have some shear, rotation, and 3D rotation or simulated 3D rotation. Okay, so I can combine all these bones to get a very nice animation. Right now it could look complex, but it is actually very easy to do. Okay, I'm gonna create a new file. I'm gonna create a new bone layer and put the vector layer inside. So we're gonna create a very basic cube. So I'm gonna create this shape here, and now with the add point tool, I'm gonna create some faces, for example here and here. Okay, so let's suppose we have this box. Okay, so I'm gonna paint this face, and this face. Okay, I'm gonna activate the anti-alias to see it better here. And now I'm gonna create a new bone here with no strength, with some limitations, and we're gonna create a new action with the name of this bone, so B1, and inside that action we rotate the bone to the right. Okay, so now we go to the vector layer and move the points to simulate a 3D rotation. Okay, for example here. So we have this. Okay, so go back to the main line, and now we're gonna create a new action called B1 space 2, rotate to the other side the bone, and now we're gonna rotate the cube to the other side. So for example, here. Okay. So I go back to the bone layer, go back to the main line, and I have a cube rotating in a simulated 3D. Okay. And now I can add another bone, child of no one. So I add another bone here with some angle constraint. So we create the action B2 because the bone is called B2. Rotate it to the right, and we're gonna select all the points and scale it. So we have a squash, and now we're gonna create a new action called B2 space 2. Rotate the bone to the other side and stretch the box. So we have now 3D rotation and squash stretch. So we can combine and get many different shapes. So we could still adding a new bone, child of no one, for example here, with no strength, some limitation of the angle, and create a new action called B3, the name of the bone, B3, rotate to the right, and for example here the point's gonna rotate to the right. Now go back to the bone layer, go back to the main line, create the action B3 space 2, rotate to the other side the bone, and also to the other side the shape. So go back to the main line, go back to the bone layer, and now I have the 3D rotation, the squash and stretch, and another rotation here. Okay, so you can see it is very useful. It is exactly the same principle to make the boss. The only difference with the boss is it have more points, but the principle is the same. Well, this is I think I was too fast maybe, but this is the webinar I prepared for today. Thank you very much for being here. I hope you liked this webinar, and I hope you post if you have any cool rig or any cool idea about how to use smartphones. You can post it to the Lost Marble forum and share them. It will be cool to see them. You can post also on the non-official forum on KLA2. Sorry, I don't know the exactly direction, but if you have some cool ideas, please share them with us.
Thank you very much, Victor. Thank you for your time, Victor. So we have a series of questions that I'd like to ask of you, and if anyone else in the audience has more questions, please feel free to do so and ask those questions up on the question section area. So we'll be answering as many questions as possible. One of the things that I wanted to mention to you, Victor, is that many of the questions you've answered already, but maybe folks would need some more clarification. So there'll be repetitions of some of the things that you've done. I think we'll start off with the woman rig, and one of the main questions that has sort of arisen from that is, how do you do lip syncing, or how do you use phonemes or anything like that with the way you've created the rigs?
Okay. Here's the woman. So I go to the head bone layer. So here in the head bone layer I have the 3 bones which controls the mouth. So the lip sync have to be made by hand. You have no switch, no automatic lip sync for this, and I prefer make it by hand. So for example, if I want to make the character say an M, for example, I can rotate this here, some squash stretch, for example, okay, and I'm gonna create a rotation key for all the bones, and now I can open the mouth. So for example here I have ma, for example. Okay, so if you have you want an M again, you can select these keys, copy and paste, and you have mum, for example, mum O. We're gonna open the mouth. So you make the lip sync combining the 3 movements bones. And useful tip is that if you want to key the angle of all the bones, you can press Ctrl F, and automatically we have a key for all the bones. So for example, I have this O, which is which keeps some time, and then I change to another position the mouth. You see? So
Okay, thank
maybe
you.
okay. Tell me.
Thank you, Victor, for that. The next question is related to lip syncing. So would you recommend using smart bones as a better means to doing lip syncing versus using switch layers?
Yeah, actually I never liked it too much using switch layer for lip sync. I think the flexibility you can get using smart bones and the final amount of work you have to make, it is easier to use smart bones, and the result will be much better. And also you don't have to work with a lot of different layers. For example, for make lip sync using switch layers, you have 10 different layers for each phoneme. But for example, in this head, if I want the mouth of another color, for example, I only select the mouth, which is the only layer of the mouth I have, and change the color, for example here. And now all my lip sync is right with the color. If I will have more than one layer, I will have to make all this change on all that different layers. I don't know if that answered the question.
I believe it did. Thank you. Another question that's come up is the 3 bones that you're using, the smart bones for the mouth, will they stay in place if you move the main bone of the entire body?
Yes, because if you see the webinar I did, the last webinar about rigging on Anime Studio 8, the head bone layer, which contains all these bones and all these vectors, is binded to this bone, to the bone which controls the head, okay, in the main body rig, right? So if I rotate, for example, the body here, I go to the head, and here are the bones, because they are rotating with the body, right? In other case, for example, in the monkey, all the bones which controls the head, all these little bones, are child of the head. You see? So when I move the head, the bones also moves. But anyway, since it is the rotation, the thing which actually make work the smart bones, I could move the bone here. For example, if in some part of my animation I need to move the bone here to keep the things clear, and the rotation is still working, so I can animate the position of the bones, or I can simply change on the frame 0, okay, to adapt to the animation.
Okay. The next question is also related to lip syncing and papagayo. I wanted to know if, or the question asks if it's possible to use papagayo in conjunction with smart bones that are applied to the mouth.
Right now, no. You can use papagayo with this kind of rig, but there is a script wrote by Ramon Lopez which can transform the papagayo files to actions. So for example, if I have my woman here and I create a new regular action, no an smart bone action, for example for an O, I'm gonna make an O, okay, and I move these bones. Oops, this is not the same woman, but I move the bones to get an O. Here is it, for example here, and I save this action. I could have different action for O, A, M, etc. And so you could use that script to transform this action of the bones in movement for papagayo, or in movement from papagayo. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So I have another question that's being asked repeatedly. Let's say you spend some time rigging the left side of the body with smart bones. Is there a quick way to do the right sides?
No, not really. There are some tricks, but I don't know if it is good to show them, but I prefer to know. My official answer is no. You have to make all the work again. But for example, if I have this arm rig, I could duplicate this arm. I have the arm duplicated. Move it to the other side, put it here. Okay, so I have a second arm here. Okay, bind again the points to the bones, and as this layer, oh, it is not working well, but let me see if I can explain this. When you create the actions are inside of the arm. So if I go to the arm, you can see the list of the actions. So for example, for this arm, the bone B9 is moved by the bone B9, right? But if I duplicate the layer, I could make that I could rename the action on this layer, the action B9, for example here, I can rename it as B6, which is actually this bone. So this layer now should react to this rotation, you see, to the rotation of this bone instead of this. But it is a large process because you have to rename actions, to erase some others, and I think that finally it is faster to just create each smart bone by hand. It is actually very fast to make each one.
Okay, thank you, Victor. There's a few more questions. I apologize to everyone. We're going a little bit over time. Is there a way to label the smart bone controls on the screen so it's easier for you to see what's happening?
There is no an official way. I know Hayburn have a script which can show the names of the bones, but from now what I do is to create labels by hand in a vector layer with text. So for example, in this school I needed to share this character to another actually to you, Faye. But so I level the bones and make it easier to see. So I create these labels, and I also make this layer to don't render this layer. So if I render this character, there are no levels. Okay, but right now there is no an automatic way to make it. Some people use node layers. You have node layers, so I could create a squash, for example, a squash node layer and put it here inside the school. Okay, but there is no automatic way to make it. So because of this, it is good to have a good visual position of each bone. So for example, I have in this side the eyes, in this side the mouth, here the turning, here the squash stretch. You see, it is about your own kind of organization.
Okay, thank you, Victor. There's another question here about patch layers. It's basically asking if patch layers were very popular in Anime Studio Pro 8. Is it no longer needed now that we have smart bones?
I never, I actually never used patch layers on my project. I prefer to use the Mancon rig or some other solution. I think that maybe you could use in very specific cases the patch layers, but they are mostly obsolete with the smart bones. You have smart bones which are actually much more powerful than patch layers. For example, I have another kind of rig. I have this zombie character. For example, with smart bones, you can make folds on the pants. You see, so you have much more power with the smartphones. I think they are not really necessary. Maybe maybe someone has a very useful tip, but I can't think on one right now.
Okay, thank you. We'll try to answer a few more questions. We have quite a few left here. I just don't want to, make this webinar longer than it needs to be. So the other question is, can SmartBone control moving points that are not binded to it?
Yes. Yes, we actually made it with the example of the box. In this case, these points are not binded to anyone. So if I create, for example, a new bone here, as this is the only bone which have strength, this bone will move the entire character. So if I create two bones, it bends. Not very nice, but it bends the character. So in this example, or in the example of the woman, we didn't bind the points of the mouth to any of this bone. They are totally independent. It is just that the points react to the rotation.
Okay, thank you. Here's another question, Victor. Now that you have SmartBones, do you find you use just one character position rig rather than create a separate rig for front, three-quarter, and side views?
It always depends of the project you are working. I think. No, I think if you need different camera views or different perspective, you always gonna need a different rig. With the SmartBones, I think the advantage is that any of that independent rigs is now much easier to do and much more powerful too. But I think we have more power. Probably we don't need so many different views of the character. For example, for the monkey, you can see I have solved the head rotation and some rotation here, but I don't know. I don't have solved the back view of the monkey, so I would need another rig for that, or a very complex rig using masking and some other stuff.
Okay, and then we have quite a few more questions left. What I'd like to do is it'll take some time for us to go through this, so I'd prefer if we move some of these questions over to the Lost Marble forum.
Okay.
And then that way I'll provide you the list of questions, Victor, and then maybe you can provide answers via the Lost Marble forum, because there's quite a few that still remain here, and I don't want anyone to feel like we didn't answer their questions. So we'll do that, otherwise we'll be here for quite some time. So with that being said, I'm going to ask Michi if she can pass the reins of the webinar to myself, and then I will conclude the webinar, and then we'll move over to Lost Marble and ask or answer questions as need be. So I wanted to thank everyone, especially yourself, Victor, for presenting this webinar. It was extremely useful for anybody that's been interested in SmartBones, and I hope it was very informative for everyone, as it was for me. So thank you very much for your time. I want to thank the audience for spending close to 75 minutes with us today, talking about SmartBones and Anime Studio Pro 9. So if you'd like more information on Anime Studio, please check out our website at animate.smithmicro.com. As well, if you'd like to have access to this webinar, it should be up in the next few days. You can go to my.smithmicro.com/webinars. We have a ton of other resources and webinars up there that you can check out and get more information as far as Anime Studio is concerned. And then further, please check out our Facebook site. It is available on our website. You can actually link to it and from anywhere from animate.smithmicro.com and as well Twitter. And Lost Marble is an area where we have a forum where Victor and many other pro users hang out and help others and help each other. So that's actually available by your web browser. You can go to www.lostmarble.com /forum, and you can check all of us out there and see if you can have any of your questions answered over there as well. So thank you very much with that, and we'll hopefully see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.